Sorry this took so long to get out, but took a little bit of research. Now today I'm going to be talking about the CIA. No, not Vault 7. That's been done to death. Go watch someone else's video on it. I really can't contribute anything else. But what I am going to be talking about is the CIA's history of drug trafficking. Yes, drug trafficking. So one of the first instances of the CIA really getting involved in the drug trade was the French Connection. You may have heard of it. They've done like a dozen movies on it. But it was basically a scheme to smuggle heroin from Turkey to France, then to Canada and the USA. The heroin was smuggled into France via Corsica, a small island off the south coast of mainland France, by the Corsican Gang. The Corsican Gang's operations were protected by the CIA from 1947 to 1951 in exchange for the gang to take control of the labor unions from the Communist Party. After gaining control of the labor unions, the gang was able to seize complete control of Corsica's docks and continue their operation into the early 1970s, where it was no surprise dismantled by another branch of the U.S. government, the U.S. Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs, in conjunction with French authorities. Now, contrary to popular belief, much of the heroin that caused the heroin epidemic in the early 70s came out of the French Connection as opposed to the Vietnam War. However, does that mean the CIA was not involved in trading heroin in the Vietnam War, specifically the Secret War in Laos during the late 1960s? The CIA used the ethnic Hmong population living in Laos to wage a war against the communist rebels known as the Pathet Lao. Due to the state of the war, the Hmong relied heavily upon opium as a cash crop. CIA became more involved after they lost the Plain of Jars, where the Laotian Air Force would land their planes to trade heroin to the Pathet Lao, which prompted the CIA, according to several unverified sources, to use the shell company Air America to transport heroin after the loss of the Plain of Jars. Not only drug trade is the CIA involved in, however, they've also laundered money for their assets. From 1973 to 1980, a bank called the Nugan Hand Bank existed in Sydney, Australia, and was founded by Frank Nugan and former Army Green Beret John Hand. The bank employed many at the time current and former U.S. military officials and CIA officials, including former CIA Director William Colby. The bank found itself financing drug trafficking, international arms trade, and laundering money for those 7 years. The bank collapsed after the death of Nugan, which was ruled suicide, despite him being shot dead in his car by a .30 caliber rifle. 20 years later, in the year 2000, Brigadier General Earl Koch, who had headed the Washington branch of the bank, admitted carrying out banking operations for the CIA as well as various other intelligence organizations. A former colleague of Nugan, Douglas Sapper, also admitted that the bank was a conduit for CIA money. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that the CIA has been in bed with several tyrants throughout history. One of these being Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega. From 1971 to his downfall in 1989, Noriega was involved both in drug trafficking and money laundering for the cartels. Now, Uncle Sam was willing to overlook this because he was willing to use his position to finance arms to the U.S.-backed Contras in Nicaragua. The U.S. was also pleased that Noriega cracked on the Medellin cartel, who were in bed with the communists, and went as far as to send him congratulatory letters for his efforts in fighting drug trafficking. Noriega found himself deposed and imprisoned after he was discovered to be providing intelligence to Cuba and other communist groups in Latin America. As a result of the invasion, the drug cartels actually found themselves more emboldened than under Noriega. Now this is mostly just conjecture. Ever since the 2001 invasion of Afghanistan by NATO, opium production has went up 25 times as it was pre-2001. Now, some may say they're setting up supply routes. It's a result of destabilization, but I personally believe that the CIA is yet again involved in the opium trade in Afghanistan. It happened when we supported the Mujahideen in the 80s and 90s against the Soviet invasion. I really don't see why it would be so implausible why we'd be doing it again. For example, we've been funding several rebel groups in Syria. We did in Libya. These are probably from the dollars from the heroin trade that the CIA is probably behind. That's just my personal opinion. So, yeah, I finally broke 3 minutes on a video, and I hope you like this. I hope this wasn't too disorganized or crazy. This actually took a little bit of time to put together. So, like, comment, tell me to go fuck myself, you know, the usual, and goodbye.